welcome back to Talking Dragon Age, the show where I talk about Dragon Age. I have been trying to find time to work on this video for a while, but these past few weeks have been pretty busy. Anyway, I want to follow up on some of the new things we learned in Trespasser, though there were a lot of things revealed, so I regret that I won't be able to cover them all in a single video. So today we'll just be discussing the main ideas relating to Soulless. But don't worry, I'll get around to the other stuff soon. I think. Okay, so I was planning to do a quick recap before we got started, but I think I'll let Soulless take this one.
Well then, briefly, I am the Dread Wolf. I fought the false elven gods, created the Veil, and destroyed my people. I intend to restore them. Doing so will most likely destroy your will.
Okay, now we can get started. Okay, first of all, the creation of the Veil. It had been theorized by a number of people beforehand, and now we know for certain. It explains why the ancient elves were immortal and were all mages. Something else stood out to me, though. In the library, there was a note about the elves after the creation of the Veil. It said something about Fen'harel specifically holding back the sky. The Skyhold's elven name was Tarasalan Telas, which means place where the sky was held back. This implies that the creation of the Veil took place at Skyhold, but I should note that the fortress is not elven. The fortress was built later, on top of the original ground that had been Tarasalan Telas. What I find truly noteworthy about this is the geography. Skyhold is in the Frostback Mountains, in the southernmost part of Thedas. The Empire of Elvenon spanned nearly the whole world, but why were the Frostbacks so significant to Soulless, whom was born in the north? What made that the ideal place for its creation? Unfortunately, I don't have any answers, but I think it may have something to do with the Alamari. This is because of two poems I will write in the description. I know I'm far from the first to point these out, but if I'm right and the Veil was created at Skyhold, then this brings up a ton of new ideas, so let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, now the other elven gods. We now have an answer on what caused Soulless to rebel and who killed Mythal, but I have to bring something up, and I don't know if this occurred to you as well, but I have a hard time believing that all the other gods were arrogant, prideful slavers. I mean, some I can understand, like Elganon, Falandin, and Andruel because she's just a bitch and maybe a rapist, but then there are others like Solas and June that I'm just not sure would have sided against Mythal. I plan to go more in depth about this in another video, but I really wanted to get this out there for us all to think about. Something else I want to bring up is pretty big and has a lot of potential answers, so I'm going to bring it up now to try to get us thinking more about it before I make an entire video to cover all the theories. Anyway, I've been thinking about how Soulless could have sealed the gods away. I mean, yeah, he created the Veil and separated the Fade, but that didn't seal everyone away. Like himself and the elves that had already joined him. Not to mention all the others that couldn't sustain themselves without the gods. So, what did he do? If you have any ideas, please leave them in the comments, and I may feature them in my next video. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the Forgotten Ones. You know that old saying, it's not always what you say, but what you don't say that matters? Well, I found it really interesting that information on the Forgotten Ones was sorely missing. What's going on here? The fact that the Forgotten Ones weren't mentioned may actually tell us something about them. I'm not exactly sure what, but it raises some suspicions as to where, what, and even when they were. Okay, here's the part I'm most excited about. Soulless's spy network. It seems to be a lot larger than we could have suspected, although we now understand why Soulless and Abelas never identified with the modern elves. Perhaps Abelas has even joined Soulless, provided he survived the temple. But perhaps the greatest implication is that of Felasan. I was so happy when Cole mentioned him. And hey, now we know who killed him, why, where he came from, and what his mission was. But as I was thinking more and more about this, I realized something about his death. Felasan was killed by Soulless in the Fade, but Felasan was a dreamer. So, tell us, Keeper Marathari, what happens when a dreamer is killed in the Fade?
A death in the Fade will make him what your circle calls tranquil.
The slow arrow lives. Or at least he might. But we now know that tranquility can be reversed, although it scars mages drastically. And it may not work because he was made tranquil in a different way than the right. But I should add that I've long thought it would be cool to have a tranquil companion, and Felasan may be able to fill that role someday. What's truly great about the prospect that Felasan may return is that he betrayed Soulless, because he saw the worth in our world when Soulless did not. Felasan understood that we are people, and we deserve a chance. Soulless only understood this once he met the Inquisitor, but even then, he doesn't think that we're worth saving. That is what makes Felasan so great, and why I think he would make a fantastic ally in the coming fight, whether he's tranquil or not. Okay, now we get to examine Soulless' character. Soulless despised slavery, and so he rebelled. I really like how he adopted the persona of the Dread Wolf to inspire hope in the pure and fear in the corrupt. I think it's a great concept to build on. So Soulless, tried to save his people from the wrath of the Avenuris, and so he sealed them away. Then the elves were unable to take care of themselves after centuries of servitude to the gods. If he is Shartan, perhaps he awoke at the height of Tevinter and helped Andraste save her people from the wrath of the Magisters, but that remains unconfirmed. Nevertheless, he awoke in the Dragon Age to find things as they are. He had created the veil to separate the Fade, which his people relied on, and to restore them he will destroy the veil, which we rely on. Soulless didn't believe we were worth anything until he met the Inquisitor. He didn't expect to come to care for us as much as he did, but he still thinks he has to do this. So Soulless, thinks he's doing what's best for his people, but he has become sympathetic to ours. So I think with a lot of work, he may still be saved. If Felasan saw the worth in our people, Soulless may too, but that's for another video. For now, what are his plans? Well, first of all, we know his endgame. Destroy the Veil, which will destroy this world, and see the paradise of Elvenan reborn. I seem to recall a cult who wants the same thing. The Order of Fiery Promise. It would be so cool to see the Promisers join Soulless in his endeavor. I guess he would use them like Corypheus used the Venatori. Although, how does he plan to actually tear down the Veil? When Morrigan first took you to the crossroads, she specifically said that the barrier between worlds could be torn down from there. Ignoring how she could have possibly figured that out, it brings up some interesting ideas about the crossroads. Regardless, it seems like Soulless needs more than just access to them. Otherwise, he could do it right now. He already stole Flemeth's power, so what is he missing? Speaking of which, I think that clearly demonstrates how he believes that the ends justify the means. The thing to keep in mind here is that although he is regretful of what he is doing, he still thinks it's what's best for his people. What I think illustrates this very well is this scene right here.
The war proved that we can't go back to the way things were. I'll try to help this world move forward.
You would risk everything you have in the hope that the future is better. What if it isn't? What if you wake up to find the future you shaped is worse than what was?
I'll take a breath, see where things went wrong, and then try again.
Just like that.
If we don't keep trying, we'll never get it right.
You're right. Thank you.
For what?
You have not been what I expected, Inquisitor. You have impressed me. You have offered hope. That if one keeps trying, even if the consequences are grave, that someday things will be better.
But that scene always felt familiar to me. I wonder why that is.
You make me think I can really do this. Lead a revolution.
Together, we'll win this fight.
Your faith inspires me. Sometimes, I fear I cannot do this. Not while I struggle against this vengeance inside me. But I know you won't let me lose myself to him.
Yeah, I don't like where this is going. Yeah, no, I don't... No, let's not. No. So anyway, Soulless, is willing to do whatever it takes to save his people, completely aware of the consequences he will face, but ignoring the consequences for our people and his own. But I think Soulless may yet be saved, and I'll cover my ideas for that specifically in a video speculating the next Dragon Age game. You know, when I started this episode, I thought I'd be covering a lot of things, but because there's just so much to talk about, it kind of just became me setting the stage for future videos. I'm still glad I got this information out, and I only regret that I couldn't do that Anders thing sooner, because that's a joke I'd been planning for a while. Anyway, more videos coming soon, and if you have a preference on what I should cover next, or just a suggestion on things I could do to improve the show, please let me know in the comments section. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, tel'enadas.